My name's Luna, and that night my mother handed me a $1,000 bill, like it was my birthright. Cameras flashed around us, champagne sparkled, and my sister Ava, her perfect daughter, posed beneath chandeliers while everyone clapped. Then my mom smiled, lifted her glass, and said loud enough for the whole table to hear, "Luna will handle it. She always does." Forks froze. Even the waiter hesitated. I stared at the numbers, realizing they weren't just charging me for dinner, they were charging me for years of silence. So I smiled back and said something that stopped the music mid-note. But the real fallout came later. I grew up in a house where love came with receipts. From the outside, we looked perfect, white fence, manicured yard family portraits that smelled like polished wood and forced smiles. My mom ran the house like a brand campaign. Everything had to sparkle, especially my sister Ava. She was the golden child, the one with the soft curls and the voice that made adults melt. At every family gathering, someone would say, "She's going to be a star," and Mom would beam like it was her own achievement. Then they'd turn to me, sitting a few feet away, hands still sticky from washing dishes, and add, "And Luna, she's the smart one." It sounded kind, but it wasn't. It was a polite way of saying, "You'll never shine like her." When Ava wanted ballet lessons, Mom didn't hesitate. When I wanted a science camp, she sighed about money and told me to check the library for free programs. I remember stitching up the hem of my hand-me-down dress while Ava twirled in silk under living room lights. Dad would film her rehearsals, smiling behind the camera. I was the shadow holding the spotlight cord. By high school, the script was set. Ava got praise for existing. I got responsibility for everything else. When she needed gas money, I lent it. When she wanted to study abroad, I worked double shifts at the diner to help. Mom called it family teamwork. I called it quiet erasure. College didn't change it. It only scaled up. Mom and Dad paid for Ava's tuition, her apartment, her allowance. I went to nursing school on loans, living in a shared apartment that smelled like ramen and cleaning supplies. I worked nights in a care facility tending to patients who thanked me more than my own family ever had. Every time I sent Mom a picture in my scrubs, she replied with a heart emoji or nothing at all. Then I'd scroll and see her post so proud of Ava chasing her dreams. I learned not to expect applause. Still, I kept showing up to family dinners telling myself peace was worth the silence. But peace built on humiliation always cracks. You start feeling it in the smallest ways, in the way your name never makes the toast, in the way the bill somehow slides toward you every time the waiter walks by. By the time Ava's 30th birthday came, I already knew the pattern. I just didn't know that night would be the one I finally broke it. The invitation to Ava's birthday dinner arrived in a glittery envelope with embossed gold letters. Private room, black tie. Mom added a note in her looping script. "It'll be a beautiful night for your sister. Don't be late. No, please. No, thank you. Just expectation wrapped in cursive. Noah." My boyfriend read it over my shoulder and muttered, "Looks expensive." I laughed it off, though my stomach tightened. "It always is," I said. The restaurant they chose wasn't just fancy. It was the kind of place where they pull out your chair and call you miss before you've even sat down. Chandeliers shimmered like champagne bubbles. The smell of truffle and candle wax clung to the air. I arrived early, instinctively checking my wallet before walking in like I'd been trained to. Ava swept in 10 minutes later, silver dress, flawless makeup, that effortless confidence that came from a lifetime of being adored. Cameras followed her every move. My parents entered behind her, Mom glowing with pride, Dad with his usual quiet smile that never reached his eyes. When Mom saw me, she said, "Luna, sweetheart, you look responsible." Then she turned back to Ava. "But Ava, darling, you're radiant." Everyone laughed except me. Dinner began with speeches, toasts to Ava's success, to her hard work as an influencer, to her bravery for moving to LA. I sat quietly cutting into my salad while Mom told the table how Ava was a born leader. Every word felt like a pin pressing into my skin. Noah leaned close and whispered, "You okay?" I forced a smile. "Yeah, just counting how many ways I can disappear." Then dessert came, a tower of sugared roses and gold dust. The waiter approached with a leather folder and a polite nod. "Miss Luna," he said. He placed it neatly beside my plate. At first I thought it was a mistake. Then I saw Mom's satisfied smile, the one that said tradition. "Go on," she said softly. "You can cover this. It's your sister's big day." I flipped the folder open. $1.99 before tax. I looked up. Everyone else looked anywhere but at me. My throat tightened. "Is this supposed to be funny?" I asked. Mom's eyes didn't flicker. "It's family. We all do our part." My father shifted, pretending to check his phone. Ava sipped champagne. I could feel my pulse pounding in my fingertips. Noah's hand brushed mine under the table. Donnie whispered, "Not again." Something inside me snapped, not loud, not visible, but final. Years of being the responsible one, the one who handled it, the one who swallowed the insult and smiled. I set the folder down, calm and deliberate. "If Ava is your pride," I said, "my voice even let your pride pay tonight." The air turned still. You could hear the clink of one fork dropped somewhere down the table. Mom's face stiffened. "Don't embarrass us, Luna." I met her eyes. "I'm not. I'm just done auditioning for your approval." That was the moment, the quiet break between obedience and freedom. And once that line was crossed, there was no going back. No one moved. The air inside that glittering room felt thick, like the chandeliers were holding their breath with me. Ava's perfect smile trembled just enough to betray her. "Luna," she whispered, voice sugar-coated and shaky, "please don't do this here." I turned to her slowly. "Where else, Ava? You humiliated me in public my entire life. Maybe it's time you feel what that's like." A murmur rolled through the table. My aunt's fork scraped against porcelain. Someone coughed to break the silence. But Mom wasn't used to silence, she was used to control. "Sit down," she hissed, the way she used to when I was a child who'd spoken out of turn. I didn't. "This isn't about money," I said. "It's about math. Years of subtraction from me added to you, and the balance is overdue." Mom's jaw tightened. "You owe this family respect." I laughed softly. "Respect goes both ways. Tonight mine comes with interest." The waiter hovered awkwardly. "Would you like separate checks, ma'am?" Mom waved him off. "She'll pay. She always does." I looked at the bill one more time, then slipped a few bills inside, just enough to cover my drink and the service. I closed the folder, slid it toward Mom, and said quietly, "That covers what I consumed." Noah stood, then his chair scraping against marble. "We're leaving." Mom's voice rose sharp and trembling. "Ungrateful. After everything we've done for you," I turned back, steady, unflinching. "You didn't raise a daughter. You raised an accountant for your pride." A gasp rippled through the table. Ava's eyes glistened, her lower lip trembling not out of guilt, but embarrassment. The cameras that had been snapping pictures seconds earlier now sat forgotten. I picked up my coat. "Enjoy your celebration." And as I walked out, heels clicking against marble, something inside me went quiet. Not broken, just done. Outside, the winter air hit like truth. Cold, sharp, honest. My breath turned white under the streetlights. Noah caught up, slipping his hand into mine. "Luna," he said softly, "you okay?" For the first time, I answered, "I think I might be." Behind us, the laughter inside faltered, and for once, I didn't turn back to fix it. The next morning, I woke to a dozen missed calls, Mom, Dad, even Ava. I didn't answer any of them. I sat at my kitchen counter, coffee going cold, replaying every word I'd said the night before. Part of me expected guilt to flood in, that old reflex to apologize for speaking too loud, but it didn't. What filled me instead was clarity. Quiet, heavy, undeniable. By noon, the messages had changed tone. "You embarrassed your sister. You humiliated your family. We need to talk." I didn't delete them. I saved each one like evidence. Noah texted, "You did what everyone else was too scared to do. Don't back down now." Still, I couldn't shake the ache. You spend a lifetime being trained to please, and when you finally break that pattern, even freedom feels like betrayal. I kept seeing Mom's face in that frozen second, her perfect composure cracking her pride, bleeding through the mask. That afternoon, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find my father standing awkwardly with his hands shoved deep in his coat pockets. He looked smaller somehow. "Can I come in?" he asked. We sat at my kitchen table, the same one I'd bought secondhand when I first moved out. It wobbled slightly like it had survived storms of its own. He cleared his throat. "You caught your mother off guard," he said. "You could have handled it privately." I stared at him. "Privately? When she's humiliated me publicly for years." He sighed, avoiding my eyes. "She doesn't mean harm. She just loves differently." I almost laughed. "No, Dad. She controls differently." His silence said everything. It was the same silence that had followed me through childhood at recitals, graduations, dinners, his quiet approval of her cruelty. And for the first time, I said it out loud. "You watched her do it," I said softly. "You watched her make me small, and you called it peace." His shoulders slumped. "I didn't know how to stop her. You could have tried," I said. "That would have been enough." He looked at the mug in his hands. "I'm sorry, Luna." I believed him. But apologies can't rewind years. They can only start clocks over. The next weekend, I got another text from Ava this time. "Can we talk?" We met at a small cafe near the hospital where I worked. She arrived in oversized sunglasses, still trying to hide behind image. When she took them off, I saw it shame, or at least something close. "I didn't know it felt like that for you," she said. "Mom said you were just sensitive." I sipped my coffee, letting the silence hang. It's easy not to know when everything's built around you. She fidgeted with her bracelet. "She's been furious. She says you ruined my birthday." I looked at her steady. "No, Ava, I ended a tradition. There's a difference." She exhaled shakily. "I never asked them to treat you that way." "That's true," I said, "but you never asked them to stop either." Her eyes glossed. "I didn't realize it hurt that bad." "It's not the money," I said. "It's the message. Every time I paid, they told me I was worth less, and I believed them until that night." We sat there in silence for a long time. Then softly, she said, "I want to fix it." "You can't fix it," I said. "You can only stop repeating it." A week later, Mom called. Not texted, called. Her voice was tight, like she'd practiced every word. "You embarrassed me," she said. "In front of family, friends, everyone." I told the truth, I replied. "You could have spoken to me privately." "Privately never worked," I said. "You only listen when there's an audience." She inhaled sharply. "Do you know how ungrateful you sound?" I leaned against the counter, calm. "Do you know how cruel you've been?" There was a pause. Then the sound of her soft, incredulous laugh. "You think you're the victim?" I smiled faintly. "No, I think I'm the survivor." Silence stretched. Then she said, "You've changed." "Yes," I said simply. "Boundaries will do that to a person." She hung up. That night I sat on my balcony, city lights flickering like distant stars. The air was cold sharp, but it felt honest. For once, I didn't need anyone to tell me I'd done the right thing. The peace in my chest was louder than her silence could ever be. 2 weeks later, Dad called again. "Your mom's been quiet," he said. "She doesn't know how to reach you. She doesn't need to," I said gently. "If she ever learns how to talk without hurting, I'll be here." He nodded. "She's proud of you, you know. She just doesn't say it." "Then she's still not proud," I said. "She's proud of the idea of me, not the real one." He smiled sadly. "You sound just like her when you're sure you're right." "Difference is," I said, "I'm willing to be wrong. She never is." After we hung up, I went to bed lighter than I'd felt in years. A few months later, Ava invited me to lunch again. She came without makeup, without cameras. She looked tired, but real. "I split the check this time," she said with a small grin. We ate quietly. She didn't perform, didn't pose. When the waiter brought the bill, she reached for it, handed me half. "Fair," she said simply. And in that moment, I saw it not perfection, not redemption, but something close to change. That night, as I walked home through the falling snow, I thought about how revenge doesn't always come as thunder. Sometimes it arrives as silence, the kind you choose for yourself after a lifetime of being told to stay quiet. I didn't burn bridges. I just stopped lighting them for people who never walked toward me. When I got home, Noah was waiting with takeout and that soft smile that never asked me to shrink. So he said, "What's next?" I smiled. "Peace. That's next." He nodded, raising his glass of water like a toast. "To peace that doesn't need permission." I clinked mine against his, and to bills that finally belonged to the right people. For the first time, laughter didn't feel like pretending. Weeks passed. The phone stayed quiet, and for once I didn't chase the silence. I filled my days with work, long shifts at the hospital, small moments that reminded me what real gratitude sounded like. Patients who said thank you without conditions. Coworkers who saw me for who I was, not for what I could give. Therapy helped too. The first session felt strange, like unpacking a house I'd lived in too long. The therapist asked, "What do you want now, Luna?" And for the first time, I didn't answer with someone else's name. I said, "Peace." She smiled. "Then let's start there." Little by little, peace stopped feeling like loneliness. I learned how to sit with quiet without mistaking it for punishment. My apartment, once just walls between shifts, became a home. I planted rosemary on the balcony, framed my nursing certificate, started cooking dinner instead of grabbing takeout on the way home. Dad called occasionally. He didn't say much, but when he did, his tone was different, gentler, curious. He asked about my patients, my hours, even my plants. I didn't need apologies anymore. Consistency was enough. Ava began sending postcards from places she actually earned her way to small modeling gigs not paid for by Mom. She wrote things like, "I'm learning to pay my own bills. It feels good." And it did feel good to see her learning the value I'd been forced to live with all along. Mom stayed quiet for months, until one day a plain envelope arrived in the mail. No glitter, no signature, flourish, just a short note, "Dinner, if you're willing, my treat." I smiled but didn't rush to answer. Healing doesn't mean returning. It means choosing how to meet someone again. I placed the note on my fridge beside a photo of me and Noah at the farmer's market, my small, ordinary joy. The caption in my head said it all: respect is the price of admission, and I'm finally worth every cent. Some nights I still think about that dinner, the flicker of chandeliers, the stunned silence after I said no. But it doesn't sting anymore. It reminds me that sometimes the most radical act of love is saying enough. I don't hate my family. I just stopped financing their comfort at the cost of my dignity. And in that space, something new grew: peace that wasn't borrowed pride, that didn't need permission. If you've ever been the quiet one, the reliable one, the one everyone assumes will handle it, I see you. You don't owe anyone your silence, your money, or your peace just to keep the room comfortable. Love without respect is manipulation. And walking away isn't cruel, it's clarity. If this story hits somewhere deep, share it below. Tell me where you're watching from. And remember, respect isn't given, it's earned. Hit subscribe for more stories like this.